morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is to you. Welcome to our Good Friday service. We have been given a very special opportunity today for Good Friday to do something very unique, something very meaningful, and something very different than what we have done in the past and what we would normally think of maybe for a Good Friday service. Often we want to get together and we want to celebrate and have a really fun time and enjoy the time that we have together and think about all the good stuff. And especially now, I mean, you're obviously wherever you are, probably at home, watching this online, and you would most likely much rather be doing something fun, watching a funny YouTube video or watching scrolling through memes or watching cat videos or making fun of people that bought way too much toilet paper or whatever it is. You want to be doing something fun. And on a day like today, you want to be in that place where maybe you forget about all the anxiety and all the fear and everything that's going on in the world. But like I said, we have been given a very special opportunity here today. And that opportunity, I believe, is to take a moment to grieve. Now, Good Friday is already one of those moments that's bittersweet. Just the very nature of the day when we remember the sacrifice of Christ, there is some of this pain and some of this celebration involved. But especially right now in the environment that we are in with this pandemic, and so much is going on, and there's so much to consider and so much that is weighing on us. I think it would be wrong for us to miss this moment, to miss this opportunity that has been given to us to grieve. Now, again, I know that we would much rather be doing something fun and much rather be doing something entertaining during this moment to help us forget about all the stuff. But the reality is that if we forget or ignore the things that are going on in our lives, all that we'll be doing is forgetting and covering the pain for a moment. And the second that the entertainment is gone, the second that we go back to normal life, the pain and the fear and the anxiety and the loss will be right back there in full force, and we will have made no progress, and we won't have gotten through it and reached what it is on the other side. And so I think we absolutely need to take this moment to embrace what is going on, to feel it together, to process it and go through it. Not to stay here, not to linger here and get lost and trapped here, but to go through it. And so that's why we're calling it Good Friday, Grieving Together. I know that we're not actually physically together, but many of you have your family in your home, or a roommate, or somebody is there living in your house or living in your home with you, or you have the capability to do a video call or just a regular phone call and connect with other people. And so I encourage you to do that. I encourage you to gather your family or gather whoever it is that's living in your home with you, or get on the telephone or video chat or whatever with the people that you really trust, the people that are really close to you, the people that are your family. Whatever that means to you, the people that are your family. Get them together, bring us all together, and this is what's going to happen here. I'm going to take us through a series of exercises. We're going to tackle 3 things, and then I'll give you a short message. And in these 3 things, we're going to have to process some stuff. And between each section, I'm going to ask you to pause the video, gather with the people in your home or that you have on the telephone or video chat, and work through some stuff with them. Now, if you've got a pen or pencil and some pieces of paper, just scrap pieces of paper, Post-it notes, strips of paper, whatever it is, you really want to grab those right now, and I'll tell you more about those later. But you want to grab your pen and pencil, your paper, and grab the people. If you've got your kids there, even if they're little kids, you want to do this with your kids if you can. This is one of those moments where I think it's important for us as families and us as homes to really dig into this together. As much as we're separated, it's important for us to not do this alone. So what we're going to do is we're going to tackle some stuff. We're going to bring up some stuff. I want you to process it, and then I want you to share it with the people that you're with. Now, it's important that as we share this stuff, that we aren't judging and we aren't criticizing. We aren't even giving our comments. And we're not trying to fix the problem or fix anybody else. And the key thing to say when somebody shares is you want them to be honest, you want them to be open. And so pretty much the only thing you say is, thank you for sharing. Or that's really hard. Or I'm sorry too. Or I feel that too. But probably the safest thing to say is, thank you for that. Thank you for sharing. And that's it. Don't dig into the person. Don't try to analyze the person. Don't try to fix the problem. That's not what this is about. This is about feeling the grief and going through it together. So, let's get started. Grief number 1, sin. Now, sin is one of those things that is in everybody's life. And when we do things that disrespect God, that offend Him, or that harm other people, those are sins, and those do harm to our relationships. And naturally, that causes guilt and shame to fester in our heart, to crop up. And a lot of times we kind of hide it. We say, no, that's not sin, and we try to make it not an issue, or we acknowledge that it's sin and we try to bury it and not deal with it and hide it, or just keep it away from everybody so nobody has to think about it or nobody has to deal with it. But the real response, the right response is actually grief. The right response is to actually admit it, to confess it, and to seek forgiveness and accept forgiveness. And so this is what I want us to do first. I want us to consider what your unconfessed past sins are, what your present sins or recent sins are. I want you to write them down on those pieces of paper you've got. And then I want you to share those things with the people that you've gathered around you. Now, some of those sins may end up being a later conversation with certain people. There may be certain sins that you can't dig into because your kids are right there. But I do encourage you to be open and honest with the people that you gathered around, because you trust them and you love each other and you need each other here. And then I want you to ask for forgiveness from the people in that room, in your gathering, that you've hurt. Ask forgiveness from them, and ask forgiveness from God as well. And so this first exercise is to write down your unconfessed past sins, your present sins, and then to share them with your group and ask for forgiveness. Pause the video and do that right now. All right. Now, I know that was hard. Nothing about what we're doing here today is easy, but I think it's valuable. I think it's so incredibly valuable. And I want you to understand that it's because of Good Friday that we can face these sins and know that they don't hold power over us anymore. That it's because of the shed blood of Jesus that you can be completely forgiven. And that in the confession and the repentance, the turning from it and giving it over to God, He begins that transformational process that takes over our hearts, changes our hearts, and takes the power of sin away from us and our families and those around us and our future. Now, grief number 2 is a very close companion of sin, and that is death. Death is that unrelenting enemy that we face and is so incredibly, horribly obvious right now. It is that thing that is on everyone's mind all the time. As we face news and we look around at our family and friends and can't be with them, and as we have relatives who are in nursing homes and relatives who are older, or relatives who are sick, or just people that we love who are sick, whether that's from the virus or some other issue, and we're not able to be with them, whatever it is. And we face death in the fact that this is Good Friday, and we have to acknowledge the death of Jesus. Perfect Jesus. Wonderful Jesus. And so what we want to do right now is we want to acknowledge death. We want to acknowledge that it is a real issue in our lives and that we need to grieve over it. Grieve over the death of Christ, the death of loved ones, the death of those all around the world. Thousands and thousands of people who are dying in the middle of this pandemic. The death of lifestyle. Some of you have lost your jobs. Some of you have lost your way of life. Some of you have lost people in your life, or there are issues that are coming up now that will radically change everything, and your old way of doing it is gone, and that has died now. What I want us to do with that is I want us to, again, write down the deaths that are affecting you most right now. And then I want you to share with those in your group, at your home, that you've gathered around you. I want you to share with them how that is affecting you emotionally and in how you act. So look at these different deaths that are going on or have happened. Write down the ones that are impacting you the most right now. Write that on those pieces of paper. And then share with those that you've gathered around you how that is affecting you emotionally and in how you act. Go ahead, do that, and pause the video. You guys are doing great. You guys are doing really great. Thank you for continuing along this journey with me. I know it's hard, but again, we're making headway. We're going through it. We aren't being trapped by this. We're not being stuck. This isn't going to be something that holds us back anymore. We are going through it. We are making progress. We are seizing this moment. Now we move to grief number 3. And I've called it the grief of apathy. Now, I could have easily called this a grief of regret. Regret, we understand the looking at our past and wishing we had done something different. But this is a little bit more abrasive, a little bit more offensive, because it adds a little bit of blame. It adds a little bit of that guilt with it. That the understanding of not simply that we just missed something, but we missed something that we shouldn't have. We missed something because we should have been paying more attention and we should have been investing in different ways. And so there is a little bit of abrasion. There is a little bit of offense going on here. And that may make you uncomfortable and that may be harsh, but I think it's true. And if it's true, then we need to face it, not push it aside, not bury it, but go through it and go through it together. And so because of our apathy about certain things in our lives, we have missed opportunities and we have done harm to other people. And so it's our apathy towards sin, ignoring sin in our lives that have allowed it to fester. It is our apathy towards the pandemic. Maybe not you, or exactly. Maybe you've been freaking out this entire time and warning everybody. That's fine. But for many of us, we have ignored aspects of this, and that has led to harm, or at least missed opportunities when we should have been caring and we should have been praying more. Our apathy towards other people's struggles and ignoring them or belittling them, ignoring honesty and honest connection, and having apathy towards the relationships that we have, ignoring people, apathy towards the people that we have around us, the people that we want to gather around us right now. But when we had the opportunity, we just sat there on our phones. And we just didn't care enough. We didn't care enough about being open and honest when we had the chance. We didn't care enough to reach out and be with people when we had the opportunity. And that apathy has cost us. For some of you, that apathy has cost you moments with a loved one that you will never get back because they're gone. That's something to grieve about. That's something to be upset about, to be sad about, to be frustrated about. And so what I want us to do is I want us to, again, write down the things that we regret, the things that we were apathetic about. Write down those things on those pieces of paper. And then I want you to share those things with the people that you've gathered around you. Now, some of you, this may need to take the form of writing a letter or a note to somebody, or having a phone call later on when you've realized how apathetic you've been towards someone or something, and you need to process that with them specifically. But for right now, write down the thing that you've been apathetic towards, the thing that you regret now doing because of what you've missed out on, and share that with your group. Do that and pause this video. Well, I hope you didn't all buy just toilet paper. I hope that you guys all had Kleenex or some sort of tissues on hand, because this has been rough. This has been hard, and boy, I wouldn't want to do this all the time, but it feels good. It feels good to get it out. And as we're here on Good Friday, and have been grieving together, and we're processing this together, there is an incredible sweet moment that is attached to this, doing this grief exercise today. And that's in acknowledging that Jesus, perfect Jesus, wonderful Jesus, very likeness of God, very God himself become flesh, perfect Jesus, wonderful Jesus, miraculous Jesus, came to the earth and was betrayed, tortured, and killed because of our sin. And because of that pain, because of that great cost, we get Sunday. We get Easter. We get resurrection. And because of that death, we know that sin no longer has the final say. Death no longer has the final say in our lives. That it does not have to have power over us anymore. But we can actually be free. We can actually be whole. And we can actually have full, real life. It is the love of Jesus that has changed all of this and made it so that grief is not an exercise in pessimism, but is an exercise in hope, that as we go through it, there is real hope and miracles on the other side. Now, if you're here and you're watching this and you've never made the decision to follow Jesus, or you did a long time ago and you've pulled away from it, you've ignored it, I want to really encourage you that this is your moment. this is your moment to say, you know what, I regret doing that. I regret all my past sins. I regret pulling away from Jesus. And I'm going to follow him now. I'm going to let him forgive my sins. I'm going to let him change my future. I'm going to let him have control of my life from here on out. I encourage you to take this moment to follow Jesus. And when you do that, get a hold of me or somebody else from the church or somebody else that you know is a follower of Jesus and tell them about it. And we'll begin the journey of walking through that with them. Now, as we close this exercise, I have a number of things to leave with you. First is all those pieces of paper that you've been writing on. What I would like you to do with that, if you feel safe, if you're comfortable and able, and as long as there's no conviction in your heart about going out or not, but if you feel you can do it safely, then at the church, in front of the church, there's going to be a bin. It'll be right on the front steps or by the front steps. There will be a bin there. And what I want you to do is I want you to take those pieces of paper and I just want you to dump them in. We're not going to rummage through them. Don't rummage through them. Don't touch the bin. Just dump all those pieces of paper into that bin. And what we're going to do is we're going to gather all those and we're going to offer them up to God later on. And there will be either a video on Sunday or Monday about that. But that is just a symbolic gesture of us gathering all our grief together. Not getting rid of it, but having gone through it and offering it up to God together. And so if you feel safe and capable of doing that, then I encourage you to gather up those pieces of paper and drop them off at the church and watch the video when we release it on Sunday or Monday. Now, the second thing I want to leave you with is that this evening at 6 p.m., Good Friday at 6 p.m. on Facebook Live, I will be sharing communion with you. And so if you've got bread or crackers or juice or water or whatever you've got, just something to drink and something to eat, gather your family together, and at 6 p.m. I'm going to come on Facebook Live and lead us through communion, so that even though we are all physically separated, as the body of Christ, we can be united and we can have communion together. The last thing I want to leave you with is that on Sunday we will be holding a very special Easter service. Now, this is unlike any Easter service I've ever done before. And if you're thinking, oh man, is this going to be another depressing exercise? Hopefully not. Once you see what I do, you may be depressed that you think that by my sense of humor, but hopefully you'll actually find it funny. Hopefully it will be something fun. I've got a number of different people doing a number of different things. Got some incredible stories to share with you, and I'm really excited. I'm really hoping that it's going to be a lot of fun, really exciting, really hopeful, and it leaves you feeling like you can conquer the world because Jesus Christ has defeated death and conquered the world. And so I hope that you'll join us on Easter Sunday for that service. One way or another, I hope that I get to see you soon. Hang on to Christ, hang in there, and go through this together. We'll talk to you soon.